Hey Bio 131 friends. So this video is going to take us through how to write the results section of your Daphnia scientific paper. So again, I'm referring to the guide to writing a scientific paper. So still important, will remain important in your future. So let's go ahead and go to the results section and see how they have done that. Okay. All right, so the example for the results, remember you have an example of what to, like kind of a guide for what to look at and, what do you need to include in your results. So in this section, you're presenting the data that you found, which I will be posting after I finish recording this video. And you are basically just putting them into some sort of visual representation. You're really wanting to see what the relationship is between your two factors, your two variables. So remember that our dependent variable, what we were measuring, that was the Daphnia heart rate. So we were looking to see if that changed based on our independent variable, which was the different chemicals that we tested those little guys with. So a graph should really just see if there is a relationship between those two variables. So things to keep in mind for the graph, be sure that you are using graph paper, and I can upload a piece of graph paper if you guys would like to do your graphs by hand, but you will have to, somehow get it into, take a picture, put it into a Word document. That way, when you submit your completed paper, everything is together in one document. If you don't want to do that, if you feel comfortable making your graph on Excel or some type of other graphing program, feel free to do that. You just want everything to be even, uniform, all those good things. So then, whenever you are looking at your graph, you're going to want to label your axes. So the y-axis, that usually is going to be where your dependent variable is if you're doing like a bar graph, which is what I recommend you guys do with the Daphnia data. So that would probably be the heart rate in beats per minute. Then on your x-axis, you would have a label for your x-axis, which would be maybe the chemicals. And then you're going to need to be sure that, and if you're using a graphing program, this does this already, that you're using the entire space of the graph. If you are graphing by hand on a piece of paper, you want to be sure that you are utilizing the entire space of the paper so that you don't have a lot of just blank area. All right, so that's whenever you're thinking about, okay, what intervals do I want on my y-axis for heartbeat? Usually you want to go like maybe, I don't know, probably 5 units or less above your highest number. And then obviously the y-axis should start at 0. And then on the x-axis, since this is going to be a bar graph, you're going to have just your water trial for the Daphnia. So whatever that rate was in beats per minute, it's represented in a bar. And then right next to that, with that same Daphnia that you added the chemical to, you're going to have the heart rate for the chemical in beats per minute. So you're comparing those two variables to see if there was a change or an effect based on that chemical. All right. We do have multiple pieces of data. So looking at if you have more than one data set. So each set of bars is going to be a data set. So it's going to have the water trial and then the chemical. And it's probably a good idea if you can to distinguish those with a legend. So remember that a legend is part of the graph. That's just a little box somewhere on it that tells you like what all the colors mean or what's designated by this type of line. So for all of your water trials, maybe you want to use the color blue. So all of those bars would be in blue for all of the Daphnia trials. Then for your different chemicals, well, maybe you want, if you feel like ethanol is going to be a depressant, maybe you'd want to put it whatever color you think is depressing. If there's like something that you think is going to increase the rate, I'd probably go with something like yellow or orange, something that's, like happy. You just want to be sure that the color is noted in the legend so that we know what bar is which if you are not saying that this is ethanol on your x-axis. And if you have questions, I'm happy to do like a one-on-one office hour with you at some point. But I will be grading these, and then whenever you guys turn in your final full scientific paper, you'll probably feel pretty confident that you're going to get a great grade on it. All right, don't forget to include a title for your graph. The graph, it needs to be pretty descriptive. So, what is this graph showing you? Oh, well, this graph is showing us how heart rate is affected by chemicals, quite simply. All right, so you can have tables in your results. That's absolutely fine. That's good. But remember what we just covered? Well, it wasn't just covered. But honestly, time is really weird right now. So it seems like we just covered it, yet it also seems like it was like a year ago. Whenever we were looking at graphs and visual data. So remember that a graph is just a way to tell the story, find any trends in a really short, concise way without words. So you're looking for trends that you might miss in a data table. All right, so here is their example. So remember that this was looking at different hair dyes and seeing if it would mutate salmonella cells. All right, so they have a data table. So table one, notice that tables are always labeled above the table with what it is. All right, so their table is hair dye, number of colonies, and then what they've done is they have graphed that data as well. So whenever you are labeling a figure, a graph, it always goes on the bottom. So if it's a picture or a graph that you've generated, the label and the numbering of the figure goes below it. If it's a table, it goes above it. That's something that, if you know that going forward, you'll probably impress some of the people that are grading your papers. All right, so we also have our checklist. So let's go check that out and see if we have missed anything. All right, so results, here we go. So we are summarizing the data. You don't have to include the raw data table. I'm totally fine if you guys want to. I'm going to be uploading an Excel document, so you can use that. It's fine. You want to have some type of representation of your data. I would like for you to have both a table and a graph, just so you get the feel of doing both of those. Remember where to label them. So tables are labeled on top, figures are labeled beneath them. Let's see, for your graphs, be sure that you have labeled every element, like your different axes. Make sure you have a title in the graph. And then whenever you have like figure 3, you can say, this data shows the relationship between this variable and this variable. And then you'll have a more concise title for the graph. So you also want to include a pretty short paragraph where you are noting your results. So is there anything important in these results? You're just stating that, let's see, for theirs, let's check out and see if they had anything real quick. I'm doing a lot of scrolling here. Sorry, guys. Where was theirs? Okay. So here's their basic brief paragraph explaining their data, which was the table and the figure below it. So it says table 1 shows that basic brunette had produced the greatest number of colonies at the end of 7 days. Figure 3 shows that bacterial colonies on the dishes containing raspberry red and bombshell blonde only appeared on the last day, while colonies appeared on the basic brunette plates by day 2 and steadily increased in number. So you are just noting what you're seeing in the data. You're not offering any explanation for why you might see this, because that information is going to be the discussion section, which is going to be our topic for next week. All right, let's scroll back down to our checklist. Make sure we've got everything. Okay, yeah, and I think that was it. So I am going to get the data table typed up next, and then I will get that posted after I get this video posted. And then if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. And also don't forget to make a post in the discussion board so that you get attendance points for the week. And it's just kind of nice to hear from you and see how you guys are doing. So have fun with your results section, and thanks for listening to the video.